All right, another exciting episode of Memory Lane. I just did a video that I mentioned the San Jose Mercury News and something that happened there, and I thought that's worth making a whole video about. So back in '88, I think it was, I started doing Freedom of Information requests for the small business subcontracting plans on the Pentagon's prime contractors, and they were called SF-294s and SF-295s, and um, and they showed that the Pentagon was lying to Congress. They were telling Congress they were doing 20% with small businesses. Back in those days, the law said 20% of all federal contracts and subcontracts should go to small businesses. So every year the Pentagon was reporting to Congress, yeah, we're hitting that 20% small business goal. So I got all these, I won this lawsuit in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Let me talk about that real quick. Um, I won in the Ninth Circuit. I lost in the federal district court. It was Judge Vukasin, and he wouldn't even look at our documentation on the case. He didn't even look at it. He ruled against us without even looking at it. Right? Turns out his brother was a high-ranking Pentagon official. He should have recused himself of that case. That's actually illegal. So we lost at the district court level. We won in the Ninth Circuit, and I've discussed this in other videos. But when we won, the judges were outraged that the Justice Department, the Pentagon, had sent an attorney, to oppose the release of this information. The judges told the government attorney, you should be helping these guys expose this fraud and abuse, not helping to cover it up, right? And, this woman, poor woman, she left the courtroom, crying like a baby. That was shocking. So I won that lawsuit. So now the Pentagon had to release all these reports. By the way, I was watching back in those days HBO, and Dennis Miller mentioned that lawsuit in his HBO comedy special. I was surprised. He said the Freedom of Information Act is now free. He started talking about that lawsuit, right? And so back to the San Jose Mercury News. So during this whole lawsuit, it took like 3 years, this woman from the San Jose Mercury News had been reporting on it. And so when I won the lawsuit, the San Jose Mercury News did a Freedom of Information request and got the small business subcontract reports on all the defense contractors in Northern California. And they called me up one day and they wanted me to come out there and help them analyze the reports. So I went out and as I've said in another video, they had this big long conference tables, probably 12 feet long, and all these banker boxes, these reports. They're trying to figure out how are we going to analyze this. I said, well, there was like 6, 7 people in the room. I said, pull out any 10. And the guy pulled out 10 reports. And I said, what are the small business subcontracting goals? He said 0.5%, 0.2%, a fourth of a percent, 1%. And they were shocked because the Pentagon was saying they were doing 20%. Well, how can you do 20% in small business subcontracting if your subcontractors are only doing 0.5%, 1% like that, right? So they were kind of shocked and they didn't believe it. I said, pull out, 10 more. So they did that about, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 times. And every time, yeah, the small business goals were stated in tenths of a percent. So they're going to write a big story about this, right? San Jose Mercury News, I think they belong to some, big chain of newspapers. They're going to write a big story exposing the fact that the Pentagon has been lying to Congress, cheating the American people out of billions and billions of dollars. And that Lloyd Chapman won this lawsuit and exposed all this fraud and abuse, right? About 4 or 5 days after I was there, I was talking to this woman that was a reporter there, and they had shredded all those boxes. The Pentagon contacted them, threatened to sue them. They shredded all those reports, and this woman that had been reporting on this this lawsuit for like 4 or 5 years was transferred to the section of the paper that talked about homemaking recipes and stuff like that. So this investigative journalist that had written about this lawsuit for several years, when I won it, she was transferred to the section that did stories about homemaking. That was in 1991 in the San Jose Mercury News. I can't remember her name. I bet you could find those stories. I think I might have those somewhere. But by the way, that's the kind of power that the Pentagon wields. If you try to expose, their rampant fraud, their vicious anti-small business campaign, yeah, they don't like it. They don't like it. So that's my story about the San Jose Mercury News and their attempt to expose the rampant fraud and abuse that I had uncovered at the Pentagon when I won my first lawsuit in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Since then, I've won 109 more, by the way. I'm Lloyd Chapman. Thanks for watching.